Nice here, but I'm sorry that the ship moves more up here.
Oh, I don't seem to be minding so far.
Good. By way of introduction, we're sailing away from South Georgia, having buried Frank Wild next to Sir Ernest Shackleton in Grytviken's whalers graveyard 4 days ago on the November 27, 2011. And I have with me the Honourable Alexandra Shackleton. And my first question is, how strong was your need or your desire to be here on this occasion?
Well, I was delighted to accept when I was asked to come. I thought it was a fantastic idea. Do you want me to look at that or you?
You can look at me.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, it's probably easier. It's probably more natural than having it straight up. So
I had no idea of this, but Angie approached me and said, "I think it's a good idea," and I said it was a wonderful idea. And I must say, I do take my hat off Angie, all the years of effort she's put into making this happen.
And what are your thoughts each time you come to South Georgia?
Well, this is only my second visit to South Georgia. I came once before when HMS Norfolk took me to see my grandfather's grave, and it was very obviously, it was very moving to see his grave for the first time. There we are at the end of the world, a place that meant so much to him.
What year was that?
Yeah, I think it was 1994, I think.
So 17 years ago since you were last
yeah.
there.
I've been to the Antarctic since then, but to the Ross Sea.
And is the cemetery or the memorial your strongest point of connection in Grytviken?
I think the memorial, really. You mean the memorial set up his men?
Yes. Yep.
I think the graveyard with his gravestone is the strongest reference point, really. Yeah.
And the other thing, obviously, that we've set up here is that, and the question is that, do you expect that future ship crews will now have a joint toast to your grandfather and Frank Wild in the cemetery? And if so, do you approve?
I would hope that the future ship crews should pay their respects at each grave. Will they pour a libation in each? I don't know. It depends on the ship's company gives them 2 lots of tots or not. Or they go half a tot in one, half the other, and sprinkle a little bit on each.
And so you do approve of
Yes,
the kind
definitely.
of the joint ceremony now?
Mm.
And the ceremony that we had on November 27, do you think it did justice to the 2 men?
I think the ceremony did do justice to both men, absolutely. I mean, the Falkland Islands vicar gave him dress. I thought he was wonderful. He covered everything.
And what were you thinking during the ceremony?
I was thinking how great to be here.
That's all?
It's a historic occasion.
Did your mind wander? Kind of.
No.
I was trying to get something from the Wilds on that too, to see if they actually started.
Did their minds wander?
Yeah, no.
You mean related to thinking about things that nothing to do with us being there?
No, I was thinking more in terms of whether they're actually kind of thinking back to the your grandfather's ceremony in the same chapel all those years ago.
Well, they wouldn't have known a lot about it, would they? I mean, then Wilds, they're new to all this.
Yes. And this voyage has been depicted as a closing stage in your grandfather's story, or certainly his story with Frank Wild. Do you see it that way?
No, I really don't see it that way, I'm afraid. I mean, it's so long since my grandfather served in 1922. The heroic age is deemed to have been finished round then. And I think this is a wonderful addendum, as it were, but I don't think it closes the heroic age.
And you're saying Angie contacted you about this voyage. Have you been working with her over the years as she's been doing the Frank Wild research?
No, I didn't. I haven't known her very long, but I was very pleased to give names and suggested that in any way I could, certainly, and to advise her about the procedure of getting the gravestone put up here.
And finally, and probably the vaguest of the questions is, the last 15 years or so have certainly brought Sir Ernest Shackleton rightfully to the fore in Antarctic history. How has that process been, and also are you aware of or involved in projects now or into the future? I'm
certainly right that until the sort of 1990s, Shackleton, though known always by the polar community and the yachting community, the climbing community, was not in the forefront of the public mind. And that all changed, ironically, when I was in the Antarctic myself, and a ship I'd had the honour of naming, HMS Endurance. And the interest, as I said, arose from all over the world, particularly from America. The Wall Street Journal did an article for Shackleton boom, pointing out their books, films, expeditions, exhibitions, coins, stamps, and here we all are now. And before that, my grandfather was really very much the back of my life, because my father was 10 when Ernest Shackleton died at 47. I missed him by a very long way. I was very proud of him. It did seem rather remote. He did seem to like got down there. And since then, interest, if anything, it seems to increase. So I always say, to sum it up for me, it's not been a lifelong preoccupation after I didn't know him, but the genes got me in the end.
So do you feel closer to him now? I guess as you've learnt more, so obviously you're saying than when you were growing up.
I feel much closer to him since the interest started to arise, yes. I mean, I didn't know because it arose when I was in the Antarctic. I'd be asked to do more and more things, but that's what's happened. You know, I didn't seek it out, it happens. I'm president of something called the James Caird Society, effectively the Ernest Shackleton Society. We have members all over the world. All the most unlikely people have an interest in Shackleton, and there's one reason, and one reason alone: his leadership, the way he led his men. A mutual friend wrote a book called Shackleton's Way, distilling the way he led his men into a series of rules for anyone who wants to lead. And that book has sold over 400,000 copies, 9 languages, 12 editions. So the interest is really current.
So that would be probably the book that distills best what you think your grandfather's legacy is?
Yes, it's a different way. It's not a narrative of what happened. It's a distillation of what, when he did something, what that meant, or what that should mean for other people who lead. Yes, I think it's certainly one of the most important books of polar history.
And the other part of the question is, are you aware of or involved in projects now or into the future? Are there other things planned? We did talk about the whiskey, the replica whiskey,
yes,
and others.
Well, I've been patron of several Antarctic expeditions, and I'm patron of one going forth in 2013, the Shackleton Epic Expedition, led by an Anglo-Australian called Tim Jarvis.
Mm-hmm.
That expedition aims to replicate the boat journey in the trek over the mountains, which has not been achieved since Ernest Shackleton achieved it in 1916. And a replica boat has been built, a replica of the actual James Caird. I saw it for the first time recently. It was rather moving seeing it. It's going to be christened the Alexandra Shackleton. It's gone down to Portland for sea trials. And the idea is that Tim and his team wear similar clothing, eat similar food, and have similar communications, simply to get close to the spirit of Shackleton. And nowadays, under health and safety, there has to be a support vessel, so it's not as very dangerous as it might sound. The support vessel isn't that near. And we're at the stage where we're looking for more financial interest, quite honestly. And I'm sure this will happen, but expeditions cost money, as Ernest Shackleton always found.
Indeed. There was an Irish one for the centenary, bicentennial year, wasn't there?
Yes, they didn't actually go and measure the original James Caird. They gave a very good farewell party, I have to say. But
did you go to the farewell
Frank
party?
Newton, yes, in Ireland, yeah.
Because I was here on New Year's Eve with them, and they had a good party then too.
Yes, well, their boat capsized, apparently, as I say, I've been told, it looked quite odd. Anyway, it capsized 3 times and had to be scuttled. Luckily, they had a nanny boat, so they weren't in danger. Then a German expedition tried, and they reached South Georgia almost, so they had to be towed in, so that doesn't count either. Lots of people have done the trek over the mountains. It's a question of the double, and I do have faith the Shackleton Epic Expedition will achieve this. But any interest would be appreciated.
Good. I'll point that out, and thank you very much for your time.
Fine.
Thank you. And